Obviously, completely agree with Zaire on this. This is the biggest issue that we face in Richmond. You might remember in 2021, there was the Clean Economy Act was passed in Virginia, and it completely destroyed the energy sector. We've been hurting from it ever since. And so our number one priority needs to be repealing the Clean Economy Act and being allowed to use all of the above energy sources, right? So what that essentially did, the main thing that it did is it shut down the coal-fired power plants, shut down clean coal. It reversed the Industrial Revolution, and that's absurd. And Virginians have been hurting ever since. You know, the number one complaint we get, by five times the number two complaint that we get, is that energy prices are too high. And so I put forward in my first year a complete repeal of that bill. That's something that we have to lead on. We have to have the courage to say, listen, the General Assembly got it wrong in years past, and now we're here to fix it. So that's the number one thing that we can do. I know that there is a threat that's facing us, depending on who wins in November, and that's going to be this right-to-work issue. Virginia has always been a right-to-work state, but the out-of-state labor unions are pouring money into Virginia right now to try to make us a labor union state. That's going to be a big problem for Virginia if you run a business, if you want to start a business, anything like that. So that's like the number two thing that I think we have to worry about. I know that there's a lot of, this is, depending on what group I go to, it's a popular or not popular issue to talk about. But young people need to be able to afford to buy a home. And I only have 15 seconds left. I'll touch on that later. This is if you already own a home, you might not understand how important it is. But if you're a young person in Virginia right now, it has become almost impossible, and we have to work to fix that. It's electricity. It's the things that the majority party has failed us at. It's the things that I fight every day. I have given more speeches on repealing the Clean Economy Act than anybody else, any other freshman at least, in Richmond. Probably anybody in Richmond right now. Because it's so horrible when a government goes out there and raises the electric prices of its own people where they can't afford heat in the winter and they can't afford air conditioning in the summer. I think it's abhorrent. And then when they start focusing on the wrong things, which is kind of like their thing, it's kind of what they do, they forget about the things that matter. And you remember, Eric, when we were in there last year, we went in and the bathroom, had no running water in Richmond City. There was no water that we could drink. The whole city was shut down. They sent us home after doing a day of porta potties behind the state capitol because they couldn't keep the water supply clean because they were too focused on the wrong things. This is something I'm passionate about. We have to get back to good government. The basics, water, electricity, the things that we used to do so well. We need fighters that are willing to stand up and oppose some of the horrible things that we've seen coming down in Richmond. That's what I've done consistently in my 2 years, and I pledge to you that I'm going to continue to do that with your support.